Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
We are your Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners coming at you with the captain of the guard, Ario.
Yeah, what a letdown. Not a letdown, but
I want to see Kyle try and say it first.
I was going to say Ario, because I was going to make an Oreo joke at some point about George.
Oreo.
Being
I think it's Ario.
He was probably pounding a fucking sleeve of Oreos when he made this guy up.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm apt to do that myself, so I can't really talk shit.
I can pound Oreos like nothing.
Yeah, I know.
I could kill. A sleeve is like a starter. It's like the appetizer to me eating more Oreos.
A row. Yeah, you can't stop at a row, right? Like,
and the problem is you look at the back and it's like serving size 3/4 of an Oreo.
Yeah,
you're like,
doesn't
fuck,
matter.
I just had 4,000 calories.
If you're going to eat dessert, it doesn't matter. Stop counting calories.
Oreos don't count as calories. Everybody knows that.
But here we are with Ario.
So Oreo, that was my one joke, and not even joke, but my one statement. The other statement that I know you're gonna ask my chat, like, man, what the fuck? I thought this was gonna be a Jamie chapter, right? Like,
yeah, that is where you're
it was
coming.
A complete misdirection. Yeah, so that was the other thing I just wanted to make sure I said off the top here. As a new reader, I was not expecting. I mean, I knew you guys had said it was going to be a lot of new characters, and spoiler alert, I did see the next one's a Cersei chapter. So I mean, we do get a lot of new
POV, not a new character.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew that was kind of coming, but at the same time, I definitely thought that this was going to be a Jamie, like, just by the captain of the guards, and then maybe that's why he did it, which is weird because he called Cersei.
Yeah, I don't
know if there's a rhyme or reason to it. He starts doing it a lot in these books.
I don't care for it. Just put the name in, would you?
Sometimes he does it with new characters. Sometimes he, I think, will have returning characters with a name like that. So it's not like...
He was on some different shrooms. He was on some different shit when he was writing this book. He's like, let me change the name of this chapter.
It must have been like seasonal Oreos, some of the cinnamon buns, something like that.
Nothing like Halloween time when the orange cream came out.
With the pumpkin on them. Yeah. Anyway,
a lot of good stuff comes out in fall, like flavor-wise.
What'd you think, Kyle, the first trip to Dorne?
Well, before Dorne, what did you think of this character? Because last time you were kind of saying, like, yeah, Aeron is, like, not a good character that I like him, but, like, he's interesting.
But I was very intrigued. This guy, I don't know. I mean, he's and he kind of says it himself, right? A simple man, simple words, simple man, simple blah, blah, blah.
Boring.
So, I mean, he seems pretty, I am interested to see how... I don't know, we always kind of grapple with the order of this podcast, but I am interested to see how he collects these snakes at the end, right? Gotcha. Like, that seems like it's going to be a tall task. So that is going to be interesting. But like him as a character, like, I mean, I don't hate him, but there's nothing intriguing there for me yet either.
I was going to say, I agree. And I think even like
some of his past,
a lot of the fans like call this guy like the camera.
Okay.
Like,
yeah. That seems like what he is. Yeah.
He's just like there to see what's going on in Dorne, maybe because putting us in one of the sand snakes wouldn't be enough of everything. Putting us in Doran would give us too much information.
Or there'd be too much character.
Exactly. So I think he's like there because there can be mystery because he doesn't actually know anything what anybody's thinking, but we don't have to like limit ourselves because we can kind of move him wherever. So I think he is kind of like a camera. And like,
I'll say this too, just from like the second time reading it, which like I've said it multiple times, like I probably slept walk through the first time reading this book. Having the sand snakes be a part of it, but like away, you're like, I never know what they're doing back there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh shit, that's kind of cool.
That's cool. And then I would say the other side of this is like a benefit of him is that I think it seems like he's keeping a lot of emotion out of it, right? Like where the three of them definitely have plans and emotions and schemes and all this stuff, machinations in the background, where this dude's just like, I got a big axe.
Yeah, he doesn't have any thoughts on anything. Like somebody will say something ridiculous and he'll just be like, this is what they said. Moving on. The next thing that happened was this.
Yeah, well, and even like he's like, I was not trained to talk to Doran. Yeah. Like to counsel a grieving dude. Like I
think there's like one time when Doran says like at the very end when he commands what he commands and he's like, oh, my little princess won't like this. But that's like, I feel like the only time he gives like his take on like what this means for.
Seems like that's the only relationship that he has an emotional connection to.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
All right, so we jump in with the Prince of Dorne sitting at the pools of the Water Gardens, and I guess that's kind of the intro to Ario, who is standing guard most of the time.
So hate me, Jeff, but where are the water gardens? I had fucking looked at this map for like 20 minutes.
I don't even fucking know. You'd have to ask Nelson. They're somewhere.
That's what I meant. It's hate me for asking Nelson to pull up a map, Jeff.
They're somewhere west or east.
No, I think they're southeast probably because Sunspear is in the southeast corner, right? And it took a day to get there.
It took a Galti guy a day.
Yeah, so I mean it's probably close, but I don't know. That was kind of my problem with this chapter.
It's less in the desert than Sunspear.
Well, it's on the ocean, but so is Sunspear according to this map. So I don't know. But on that, that was my biggest problem with this chapter. I guess is just kind of trying to refamiliarize myself with, or not refamiliarize, learn new geography.
I'll put this map in the Discord. That's where it has it. I mean, it's on the coast.
So they're.
They say that I think it's probably just
Sunspear
out
is the
inlet.
coast one.
They're both on the coast. Sunspear is like out this inlet because he says 3 sides of Sunspear are surrounded by water. I don't know if you would call this an inlet or peninsula or whatever.
It's on a peninsula.
I see. You gotta come around a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. You got to go around this little edge. And I
little
think
water being hidden.
Yeah, is also on the water. Like because he says he's over. There's like a bunch of pools, but then that overlooks the sea. It's like an infinity pool.
Mm-hmm, something like that.
I guess it doesn't have. You don't have to have a sea behind it to be an infinity pool. But I feel like a lot of times infinity pools are like there's an actual body of water.
It's like
behind
being
it.
at a. It's like being at a all inclusive. You got your pool, but like you walk 100 yards out and there's the ocean.
Yep.
Yeah. So that and just kind of trying to piece together who all these people were and who I might have heard of or seen before was the other side of it.
I think the sand snakes have been mentioned, not by name, but just that Oberyn has had a lot of bastard.
Yeah. That was the first time they were given the sand snakes name as well, I think, right? Probably, maybe not.
I feel like we've heard sand snakes. We haven't heard any by name before, which I think is what Jeff was saying.
Yeah, and did we know who they were or what they were at that point?
We knew that they were
Oberyn's bastards. I want to say
Oberyn sand snakes. This might have been like, and that didn't mean anything.
But maybe it might not. You might not have known that they were his children. At the time, like I don't. I really
that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, no, that's. I think that part of this chapter has a lot, right? Like I feel like that's going to be kind of interesting their play, but yeah.
The only other person I think you would have heard of was Doran.
Well, Marcella.
Yeah.
We see Marcella.
And Marcella.
Yeah. So Doran, he is not the one that Marcella was supposed to marry?
No. That is Doran's son.
There's a... Yeah.
It was not mentioned at all in this chapter. Until at the very end, the last sand snake is like, let's just marry him now. Yeah. That he's mentioned then, but that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think Jeff's right. The important ones really are the 3 sand snakes, Doran, and there's a brief mention of Doran's daughter. And then Doran's children are also important, but we really don't get too much about them in this book or in this chapter. So yeah, the main ones are Doran and then the 3 sand snakes that we meet.
And another maester who, I don't know what his name was.
Maester Kaliot, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll trust you.
Kaliot.
So, and as he's standing guard, he hears footsteps, and it's kind of funny that he can recognize the footsteps. Like you hear him enough that I don't know.
This is all this dude does: is stand here all day long and do nothing. Yeah, pretty much.
It's boring ass job, especially when he does the same thing every day for hours on end. Stare at these kids.
To be fair, I can tell whose footsteps are coming at work for sure. I'm like,
you say that. Me and my brother used to be like downstairs, and we would know like when it was our dad versus our mom walking through the kitchen upstairs. Like, oh crap, is somebody gonna come yell us to go to bed and get off the Xbox or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're just footsteps, dude. Do you really know the difference?
Well, I mean, that's also like my dad is a lot bigger than.
Yeah, I don't work with enough people to.
Yeah, but at work, I feel like it's more the jingle. Like I know that this person has a rattly lanyard. I guess it's the same thing.
No, yeah, it's the same thing. It is the same thing. I have a big towel. Like I whistle everywhere I go. Like I don't even realize it, and people are like, "Well, there's Jeff. He's whistling." I'm like, "Damn, got me."
Not a good ninja.
No, just subconsciously whistling. But yep, so she's coming up. Quick little tidbits about her. She's pretty good at training horses or breaking horses, it seems like.
She likes riding horses, and he says it was like lathered and would be bleeding from the spurs. So she's like...
Yeah, she pushes the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Flooring that bitch.
And I only know this just from like Yellowstone. Do you guys watch Yellowstone at all? They like take wild stallions and like they try to break them into being like a tamed horse. So like... I think that was part of like she could tame any horse and any man. Was just
she claims that.
Yep.
She claims
we've gotten some claims before. I guess is kind of what I'm saying. So
yeah, I think we get that wasn't part of what I had, but we do get like a good paragraph summary of I think each sand snake. So the one I had here was Obara was the eldest sand snake, a big boned woman near to 30, with the close set eyes and the wraparound hair of the old town whore who'd birthed her. Beneath a mottled sand silk cloak of dun and gold, her riding clothes were brown leather, worn and supple. They were the softest thing about her. On one hip, she wore a coiled whip. Across her back, a round shield of steel and copper, and had left her spear outside. So whip, spear, and I feel like this is the most Oberyn, right? He didn't have the whip, but he was the shield and spear when he went with against the mountain.
Spear, I guess. But I feel like they're all like, it's like a perfectly split pie. You know, it's just little pieces of him.
I'm sure there's other examples, and I haven't even seen this movie, but I kind of get like a picture of Inside Out, with all the cartoon movie with all the different emotions that I'm guessing make up one person. That's kind of like all the different sand snakes to Oberyn, kind of at different facets of him.
I haven't seen it, but I'll go with you.
I haven't seen it either, but
yeah, I mean, I guess what I was going to say about her was that she's kind of like the military side of him, right? Like that, and that's really what her plan is. Like, well, let's go fucking march on these places, exactly. And then the other lady's like, we'll go in and we'll sneak in and just kind of do the job fast, yeah. And so she's kind of the covert side, and then the last one is more of the win with words and kind of that stuff. Like where he seemed like he was a talker for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really know. We didn't really see him that much. I guess you guys know pretty much as much.
I mean, we saw him have like a few witty conversations with Tyrion. Is about it, but exactly, that's true, he seems more like Taina in those conversations than he does like Obara here, who's like, "Let's go to war. Shut up. Did you even care?" Like she's very abrasive.
Yeah. And I would just say she's the poisoner more so than
the last one, not Obara.
The last one, Taina.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. So the Maester's also walking, but not as fast as her. He could recognize his footsteps too, and Hoth's like, "You're not passing. Like, he doesn't want to be disturbed right now.
Yep,
stay out." And she's like, "Does he even know my father's dead?" And obviously, he does. This is not new news in Dorne.
I think it is relatively new news, actually, because they're also talking about Tywin being alive.
Do you think she was?
I was gonna say they definitely are still talking about Tywin,
and it wasn't that long.
You think this is legitimately? I'm just saying it's not new news that Oberyn was dead. Like, she's coming, like...
I think it is, like, within a few days.
He's sitting here doing nothing. Does he know my father's dead? Like, sarcastically asking.
Yeah, but I still think it's only been, like, a few days, like 2 to 3 days.
Okay, fine, whatever. It doesn't matter.
I see what you're both saying.
It's new news, but it's not new news. Like, he didn't...
It's not today.
It's not. She's not asking legitimately, like, did he actually read the letter yet, type of thing.
You're right.
I agree with you there, but I also don't think it's been like 2 weeks that he's just been sitting there doing nothing.
Who cares? I don't care. That doesn't matter.
Well, I think it is important. That's why all these people are coming now. They're coming today because this is fresh. That's why they're all coming. Like,
yeah, but what Jeff was trying to say was that fucker's not just sitting there doing nothing. He knows there's a death here, and we need to do something, right?
I understand. I'm pointing things out because I think this storyline is first off shunned in the show, but handled very differently. I think that is something that they don't make clear in the show. I think in the show he is just like doing absolutely nothing for like a longer time. So I think this is.
I never saw the show.
I know. That's why I'm just saying that because I know people that listen have seen the show. So he lets her up. They're talking. I think she even like.
He doesn't let her up.
Well, Doran says let her up, right?
Yeah. Before he's about to like fuck this girl up, and she's about to try to fight him.
Yeah.
It's like, you're gonna let me through right now. He's like, do I have to use my axe on you? And then Doran stops it before it goes any further.
Yeah. He has this funny
that shows his duty, I think, right? Like that was kind of the point of that. That was what I read.
Well, I think he also has this like funny like confidence that's so not cocky. He's like, oh man, I hope she doesn't try it because I don't want to have to kill her and it wouldn't even be a contest. And then like later he's talking about like, oh, I have a feeling that I'm gonna have to fight this Kingsguard who came with Marcella. Like that's gonna be a shit show. Like that he doesn't stand a chance.
I feel bad. Yeah. I have to kill him in the future.
But it's not like Jaime talking about like, oh, I would make a fool of you. He's just like, oh, you would die. That's just how it would go.
Another person I have to kill.
Yeah. I like his confidence that has absolutely no cockiness to it.
Yep. So they get back out to the pool area. I guess he was kind of there listening, right? He's not. I guess he's rolling around. He's got a wheelchair.
He's just like on a terrace overlooking everything. And
so I'm just saying, like the conversation of Aereo and it was like in ear distance with him. He was like, all right, stop it. Like
they were at the bedroom door, essentially, you know.
And he's like just watching the kids in the pool, and she's like, oh, he's like, you used to be there not so long ago. And she's like, dude, it was like 20 years ago. Like, grow up.
Yeah, but I think his point that he's trying to make, right, is like, at least the way I saw it was kind of like, think of these kids, right? Like, we can't have war.
Yeah.
Like, look at these kids and how carefree we used to be and like that kind of thing. That was what I read.
I think he kind of hits on it later too when he starts talking about his siblings. And like, oh, we all used to be here. We all used to play. And now, shit, I'm the only one alive. Like, kind of step back and cherish innocence right, and just kind of play.
It's like nothing we can do is going to get any of those guys back, right? Like all we can do
and like
is
everything you're talking
people.
about is going to make more people die.
Yeah.
So like, let's just chill for a second and enjoy life.
Steal the innocence from these children, essentially, is what he's.
I think the other cool thing about the water garden, like kind of symbolism, is Dorne is like more progressive than the rest of the Seven Kingdoms, right? Like women have way more rights. Like the ruler of Dorne before Doran was Doran's mother. She was the Martell, and she married a man. And I think the man, I don't know if he took her name, but she was the ruler. It was like because she was the Martell, she was the one in charge, and like the other guy was like the king consort. So like they have this whole women can rule, which again we get into later with this whole is the backbone of this Marcella plot. I think there's other things along those lines. And like part of the Water Gardens, there's a line where he's like, look, we have a prince playing with like a lord's son, playing with an orphan, like an orphan's daughter with like a brown girl. It's like they're all just playing in these gardens together. Like it's all the same when they're out there, right? So I think that's also part of the like Dornish symbolism with this like piece of the Water Gardens.
So he is the prince, obviously, but that he is the highest ranking.
He would be lord, but one of the laws of Dorne was that they get to keep their titles, which is prince.
Never king.
It's the same as lord, basically.
Okay.
You can't be the king of Dorne, only the prince of Dorne.
Exactly.
Okay, so he is in charge.
He's the lord, yep.
And he was prior to all this King's Landing stuff.
Oberyn's a younger brother.
That's
he's been here for years now, right? Like all in decades.
Yeah, exactly. He's the one they called to King's Landing to be like, hey, you're supposed to serve on the council.
And then the Viper showed up. Oberon showed up.
And they're like, oh fuck, this is not good, right? And we can kind of see why, because he just
this dude's a little more
does nothing all day.
Cool-headed.
He looks like a overripe grape.
Yeah, exactly. He's very gouty. That's the other thing. I don't know if we've mentioned. You kind of hinted at he's in a wheelchair and he just has gout.
Yeah. It was actually coming up. So she's like, yeah, what are you about to do about Oberyn's death? And then we get a little bit like he swells up like a water balloon, right? Like everything, knees, toes, hands.
Fingers,
like
everything.
Which is crazy. Like I've seen people with gout and it's like usually like in one toe or like a knee and they can't walk.
Yeah, it's really painful.
And just imagine basically your whole body.
Like, you're riding across a
which
desert.
Means he's been eating some good ass red meat or some like he's just been chugging wine for a while.
Yeah. Or beer. I think beer does it too, right?
I think
it can, yeah.
I don't think they had beer though. So
yeah. Well, he says he liked the really
the good wine.
Wine
or
whatever.
Say that, you're right.
So yep. And he's pretty quiet too. Hotan mentions like he doesn't say much and he just recalls him telling his daughter Ariane.
This could go multiple ways too. I think I would go Ariane, I think. But I say that now and then I'll call her something different next time we see it. So
I kind of like Ariane.
That's one I didn't even try. I just kind of like glanced through.
I'm gonna go with I kind of like Ariane, but I'll go with Ariane.
I don't even remember what I said first. So.
He just tells her like, yo, your words are like arrows. Once they're loosed, you can't get them back. So just
I think it's a cool line. Yeah.
And then you get Obara, who's just shooting arrows left and right with her words.
Well, the other thing that he says here, and again, he retreads a lot of the same water with all these girls, but it's like he was murdered, and he was like he entered into a trial by combat, like legally, like that's not murder.
A fight that he had no business being in.
Like these sand snakes kind of have no argument here, right? Like
right.
Like you're upset your dad just died, but like he did this.
It's not murder.
He knew what he was getting into,
and it seems like at least two of them have heard that it's also not going well for Gregor. So, like, hey, at least he kind of got what he wanted, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not solace in that moment, I'm going to say there.
I get it, but, like, he entered into it legally. A tie is better than a loss.
It's not a tie yet.
True, but...
Is taking a poison dagger illegal in this?
I don't know, Jeff. I don't know what is and isn't.
It seems like it would be frowned upon.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If she's like, hey, let me lead your host. You can't. You're in a wheelchair. You don't want to move from the pools. Like... Let me do it. I'll march on Old Town. Sis Nim will march on
up the King's Road. I think
northwards. Yeah, up. Yeah. No, not how far she's going to go, but north.
Yeah.
So here's the part that I started looking at the map again was Old Town is so far out of the way. Is that because it's the Tyrells?
She's from Old Town, I think. Right.
I mean, she is. Her mom was an Old Town whore for sure.
So I think,
but like she is so dead set on burning Old Town down to the ground. Yeah. What does that have to do with any of this death? And you don't have to answer that, I guess.
I don't really know, and me and Nelson haven't talked about it. I think it's just a symbol of where she came from, and maybe just a symbol of kind of like King's Landing, like would care about it type of thing. Like the Great Set, Old Town's where the Citadel is. Like, let's just. I don't really know. I think it's more so just her background.
Like, we're going to take a strategic location and force him down here, but that doesn't seem like what she's trying to do. She seems like she wants to march on up the King's Road to King's Landing.
She's going to send her sister that way, it is weird. Like, why do you care so much about
but
Old
I mean,
Town?
like, her intention in the end is to go and settle the score. That's my reading of it.
But I have to go to Old Town first. I have personal beef.
I kind of read it the way Jeff does too. And partially, I think I read that because I think one of the other sisters, Nim, I think says, "Oh, I wouldn't do what Obara's doing. She's always hated that city." And again, the story we get in a little bit about her mom, she definitely doesn't seem to like her mom, at least later in life.
I still as a first-time reader right now, I don't understand her motive to go there. And like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why Old Town would hold any value to her.
And I agree with you. I don't think we know enough.
Strategically for this purpose.
Yeah,
I understand that the mother
second-time reader that I don't think it makes much sense in the grand scheme.
I agree that we don't have enough information as to like a good reason. I think if you're trying to find one, what Jeff is saying is probably the closest.
Yeah, but that just doesn't. My dad's dead, so now I'm going to go burn down my mom's city. Yeah. Seems weird. All right.
And just another conversation or like thought Hota's having is Oberyn and Doran at the pool too before he left for King's Landing. Like, this is what you're gonna do, type of thing, right? This is why I'm sending you.
Yeah, he tells kind of the mission that Oberyn was on.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't tell him to do anything crazy, pretty much, right?
Didn't tell him to fight this. He was supposed to go make some friends and try to figure out what happened to her, but in no means die for it. And he was like, don't provoke anybody, don't provoke the Tywin when you go out there. And he was like, well, I'm
unduly is what he said. He said, do I ever provoke anybody unduly?
Yeah, I think before that is when we get her. Maybe I'm lost.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we skipped some stuff here for sure, because we get a little bit about the old priests and
we're good. We're kind of jumping around in general. But the part that I wanted to not miss.
We get the story where she talks about her mom and Oberyn coming to take her and essentially saying, pick a weapon. You can either use your tears or your spears.
And but he needs to get some tears present to give the daughter this dilemma, so he just backhands the mom, which is pretty fucked up. Like,
you think that's why he did it, was to make her cry?
Tears. He was giving her the ultimate, like,
I think he was just doing it to like, shut up, woman, I'm taking my daughter.
I think he was like, here's how some people win their battles, is they just whine about it and cry. Other people do something about it.
But I still think he hit her because he was like, just shut up, get in your place.
Either way, it's not a good reason to hit somebody.
Once she started crying, it was like, look, you can be like this, or you can come with me and take
either way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
I don't think he was like, I'm going to hit you till you cry. I just think she started crying.
Sure. Still, I think it shows Oberyn in a lesser light than we have previously seen him. And he's not he's not a great guy.
I mean, I don't know if his light was that great. I mean,
but I think it was one of the things, like, we heard a lot of like really bad stuff about him, and then like he shows up and he talked, like, one of the bad things, right, was that he
seemed okay.
He broke the Tyrell kid's leg, and he shows up and he's like, oh, he talks to Tyrion, he's like, I'm friends with that guy. We both love hawking. We send letters back and forth all the time. Like, he holds no ill will. He knows it was an accident. It was Mace's fault for putting him in there too early. So I'm just saying, like, I feel like he was built up as this like big mysterious bad guy, and then he shows up to King's Landing. It's like, oh, he's actually like kind of a nice guy. But I think now this is,
he
like,
didn't seem bad.
Not all nice. Shades of gray. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Again, still kind of a badass story, right? Like, don't hit ladies, but kind of a cool.
I mean, it's cool for like Oberyn or Obara's.
Nelson, did you get woke all of a sudden? Don't hit ladies, he said. This is the best thing he's ever said.
That's just common sense.
It's cool for Obara's origin story. Is like, you could see that being like a flashback in a TV episode of her life, which we don't ever see. Yeah. But
I guess we didn't do it. I sent you guys the art that we got done for this new character, Kyle.
Is that what this is?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Jeff,
you don't like it, Jeff?
The dude in the show just looked badass. I was hoping he looked like him.
The dude in the show is big, black, and bald.
And he's just like you would believe that he would beat the shit out of everybody with that axe. Like, I don't know, this guy just doesn't look like that.
I don't hate this guy. I don't know.
He kind of looks like Selmy with an axe.
True. I mean, he's based off the description.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the axe. The axe is the coolest part, I think.
I agree.
Can we show Kyle the
show guy?
The show guy? We could talk about that later, I think.
Yeah. He looks cooler.
Show guy does look cool. It's one of the things that, like, I almost wish that was like, Because Norvos too is like a foreign city. I feel like you could make those guys like black and make it make sense, like no problem, right? Like we really only know of like one place where black people come from.
Yeah, I mean most of the people from like Lys and Tyroshi like have been at, if anything, tan to dark skinned, right?
Well, Summer Island is black.
This guy just looks like Barris and Selmy.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
That's the final part of this. Is I have no idea where Norvo is.
Yeah, I don't either.
The final part of the map quandary that I had is the rest of that sentence.
Cross narrow sea,
Norvo?
very top. It's across the narrow sea in the very top.
Yeah, it's
a little bit to a little bit to the right of Bravos.
Yeah.
Bravos is on your map.
Yep. Well, this first conversation ends with him saying like, "Yo, let me think on it. Go back to Sunspear. I gotta think." And she's like, "All right, don't think too long. I'll be waiting for your word." And she bounces.
Yeah, she's like, "I'll send word." She's like, "The word better be war, or I'm gonna be pissed." And Doran,
he's just chilling.
I think just sits there for a while. Then he's like, "Hey, Captain, we're going back."
Before that, the Maester comes up to him and he's like, "Yo, are you sure you're about to send her back to like the main square, like where all your people are, and you're gonna let her rile everybody up?"
Yeah, she's gonna stir the pot for sure.
And he's like, "Yeah, you're right. We should go back too. Yeah. Get my litter ready for the morning."
And it sounds like it's been a while since he's been back, right? Isn't there a line that he's like,
Agreed.
when he came here, he could like walk?
He was
and
walking
stuff?
still. Yeah. I mean, walking with a stick for sure. That's coming up.
Is gout? I thought gout though was maybe like one of those things like herpes, where like sometimes it flares up and it's like really bad, but then sometimes you're just like totally fine. Is that not right at all?
I mean, I don't never heard of gout being in like every joint of your body. Like I said, I've know people that do flare up with gout, like if they have a lot of red meat and like say like Christmas time where you're like kind of
sure, but I think there's like days where they wouldn't even notice effects of it, right? Or am I wrong about that?
I would say most of the time
they
don't.
It's like a thing that comes and goes. Yeah, or the effects do at least. Yeah,
for sure. But I don't know like if it like the worst cases of gout are just never leaving.
You just got to do it the Ironborn way: fire and seawater cures it all. Burn it.
Yeah, they should have drowned him. You're right. Drown him. That's what they should do.
So he makes the decision he's going to go back too, and he's like, "I'm going back. Tell my daughter I'll be there." So we get the backstory then of why he came to the Water Gardens to hide his bad condition. He didn't want to be the weak leader of Dorne in front of everybody, so he's been hiding here. It seems like their vacation spot from back when they were kids too, like let's go play in the pool type of thing.
Yep.
And we also hear an update on Marcella Baratheon, who is here with her White Knight.
Yeah, so it seems like Doran has not met Marcella yet, right? It sounds like what they said.
Right. So he's at least been here a year or so.
Yeah, which is interesting because he's like, "Hey, you're going to have to meet with Marcella," which maybe doesn't mean it's for the first time, but it seems to me like it's for the first time when he says that.
I don't think so though, because he says whenever he sees the man in his long snowy cloak, like he's seen him.
Well, Hota's been back, not Doran.
Yeah, he's like when he talks about like how I know I'm going to beat this guy, he says it's when Doran sent me back.
Oh, you're saying Doran hasn't met Marcella?
I don't know if it's clear, but the Maester says something like, "Hey, if you go back to Sunspear, you're going to have to meet with Marcella for the first time."
Okay. So I thought you meant Arya. I'm sorry. That's kind of the.
Doran's
I don't want to say my problem with these chapters.
This is like Davos
exactly.
and Stannis. It's like Stannis is the main character. Davos is just there. Davos actually is a character though, but like
well, that's what I was gonna say. My problem is like you keep saying some of this stuff.
I'm talking about
applying
Doran
it to the wrong person. I understand now. Yep.
Which I think is interesting because Marcella's like a royal guest. We haven't met this girl. He shows up later. Right, to the city. She's there. He doesn't even say hi. He's literally just like, doesn't even really say hi to his daughter. He's just like, "Get me out of here. Take me to see Titus so I can go to bed." So I can go to bed.
Right. And his son. He doesn't see his son that day.
Exactly. I think again, this chapter was a little bit long. I think that might have been some of the stuff on the cutting room floor. I mean, but you got to talk to Marcella. She's the royal guest. You can't just show up and not say a word.
Leave it for next episode.
I don't know, man.
And
fuck him. That's kind of where he's at, right?
Yeah, I got other shit going on.
Yeah, but Ares is the Kingsguard knight that came with Marcella. He mentions that like when he came from Norvos, that he became a guard for the Martell family, while he came with Marcella and is still a Kingsguard person of King's Landing.
Yeah, they're kind of similar roles,
and that's why they're gonna have to fight one day. But yeah, so
Maester leaves to go get everything ready. Doran's like, "Ario, get over here. Do you have any siblings?
Talk to me about your family."
And he's like, "Yeah, I had a lot of siblings. I was the youngest and I was too big, and that's why my family sold me to this like priesthood.
I ate too much, so you got to get out."
Yeah. So then Doran starts talking about his siblings. He says he had two, I think, brothers who were close to his age, died in the cradle. He had Elia Martell, Ilya, who was the one that married Rhaegar. All the bad stuff happened to her and her children. She was born 9 years after Doran. Oberyn was born a year later, so there's 10 years between Oberyn and Doran. And Doran was a squire at Saltshore when, like,
they were born.
At least when Elia
was born.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was like, she was born premature. There's no way she survives like my other siblings, but she did.
Yep, exactly.
Just for worse things to happen later.
But now they are all dead. He's like, it's kind of sucks that I was the first. I'm the oldest, and I'm the only one left. And it kind of like what we were saying, like that's probably a lot of his motivation to be like more cautious here, right?
And just to like enjoy life. Like he can't move anymore. Like he could probably go sit a chair in the pool somewhere and just kind of float. But probably help.
I guess it's easier to be rash when you are like Oberyn and you can be the one yourself doing all the rash stuff instead of like telling other people to do it. But I don't know. I think it could go either way.
Isn't that a Shrek thing? Thousands of you will die or whatever, right? Sadly, thousands of you will die.
Some of you may die.
Yeah,
that is a risk.
That's a risk I'm willing to take. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it can be
Yep.
He sees it the other way though, right? Like he's like, I can't be.
I feel like there's some symbolism with these blood oranges, and I don't know what it is.
Taking a splat.
There has to be, right? I think it's just that like overripe. Like it's like the time has come for like,
or is
like
it past already?
Everything's coming. Yeah, it's like these things are like exactly. It's time has passed. They might still have a little bit left to do, but it's ticking, right? Like it sounds like they're kind of okay still. You know, like the oranges, like you could probably eat them still, but like he's like I should have collected them.
Ario's like I should have got some exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say a couple different things. It could be Doran's time has passed, right? As like he's overripe. Which
I mean,
he is.
The situation in Doran with Oberyn may be overripe, or like just Doran in general as leader maybe has made the country overripe. But I'll leave it there.
Or maybe King's Landing's overripe.
Well, I think the only time we've heard blood orange before is when Littlefinger was saying something to Sansa, like they were eating blood oranges after they escaped King's Landing. They're at his house, I think, is before they get to the Eyrie. He's eating some like blood oranges, and he's like, "Always keep your fingers clean," right? Like. So to me, it's almost like plotting, like getting involved. And so here Arya's like, yeah, they were dropping and we weren't doing anything. As Oberyn's like, no, I'm not going to go to war. Or as Doran's like, I'm not going to go to war. I'm not going to do this. But he says, I don't know if it's here when he's talking to Obara, which is why I'm bringing it up now, or if it's later when he's talking to Nym. He says, hey, before me and Oberyn left, we were sitting in this terrace eating these blood oranges and talking about the plans. It's like, that's why I let him go or whatever. Something like that. But they are eating the oranges when him and Oberyn are planning to send Oberyn to King's Landing. So that to me kind of matches more with the Littlefinger Sansa thing. But again, I think everything we're saying kind of all goes together here.
Or it could be that, like the plots are all falling down around him and he's like not catching them in time kind of thing, right?
Or Oberyn got caught with sticky fingers like Littlefinger never does, right? Like, so I think you can read into all of that.
Huh.
All right. So he decides to sit out at the water gardens, way past the kids playing in the pool, takes a little dinner there, drinks his wine, fills his cup up a couple times till he falls asleep, and then Hota carries him back or transfers him into his bed.
Yep.
And then he hones his axe before his bed, and while he's doing that, he thinks about his family and the process of becoming a guard of the bearded men. Or
bearded priest,
we get,
they don't say much.
A little bit of the history, not too much, like you said. I thought it was going to be more kind of unsullied, the way that I thought.
He kind of has that mindset where all he cares about is like his duty, right? But
but he doesn't seem that hardcore.
He didn't have to kill his own puppy,
but he did get a brand of an axe on his chest. I guess that sounds not fun.
Yeah,
also kind of cool though.
Yep. So dawn came way too soon, as it always does. Man, some of these mornings, I'm just like, let me snooze. I'm a snoozer. I don't know if you guys are.
I'm not a morning guy. Yeah, I'm bad about
mornings. Once I'm
up,
I'm pretty good, but I like to hit the snooze.
It's really bad because my work, too, I can kind of work like whatever schedule I want. So, like, if I'm up late, like, that's a problem because I can just, as long as I don't have a meeting, like 11 is kind of like the latest I can roll in. But, like, it's so easy to hit that snooze button when I'm just like, oh, I don't have to go until 11.
Yeah,
but then I'm there working.
11 is crazy.
But then I got to work. I got to work 8 hours. So I'm there till 7. It always comes back to bite you. But, yeah, in the morning, when especially it's night cold, blanket's warm, that snooze button looks really good.
Yeah. So he gets up, but he knows Doran's not a morning person either. He's going to take his time. It takes him forever anyway. It takes so long that he even has his breakfast, and then Doran has to say goodbye to his favorite children that he's met at the the water garden.
Oh, one more thing. Yeah, one more thing.
This is the worst part, is that I hate when George does this, when he mentions characters, but he gives them like really vague names to the point where I don't even think I can put them in the notes. He says he had to say goodbye to his favorite children, the Dalton boy, Lady Blackman's brood, and the round-faced orphan girl. Like those characters aren't getting notes. But again, I think this is kind of like all walks of life, right?
You just say children at water garden in your notes. So they head out. They're in the litter.
One little pedantic detail I think could be important is we bring 20 guards, leave 10. First off, I feel like that's not a lot of guards either way. Like
there's nobody that matters here, and they're protected, right? Like they're protected by a desert.
That's what I'm saying. Either way, they have 20 guards with Doran. Nim shows up with 12.
They're not at war. Why would you need?
Well, and they're so far south.
They're
man.
so
like,
far.
They're like way out of the way.
My point is, Nim shows up when they're on the ride with 12 spearmen. Doran has 20. What if she would have showed up with 24 and killed him? Who does the crown go to? And maybe they're more likely to start a war.
His
niece,
not sister, niece.
But like he seems concerned about this, right? Like even when they're like, "Hey, hold my hand," they're like checking for poison and stuff later.
He wasn't concerned about that. The maester was.
He hesitated when she's like, "Give me your blessing." He's like, okay,
whatever.
So I didn't get that part. I didn't understand
that
part,
vibe.
So.
Nor do I get the vibe that he was worried about these 12 guardsmen.
I was going to ask a question as to what the maester was freaking out about. So I saw something happen there, but I didn't get it. So okay.
So Nim rides up, and we basically have the same conversation again, right? Like the mountain killed my dad.
Well, hang on.
Read the description of Nim though, because she's cool.
Yeah, it says. She appeared suddenly on a dune, mounted on a golden sand steed with a mane like fine white silk. Even the horse, the Lady Nim, looked graceful, dressed all in shimmering lilac robes and a great silk cape of cream and copper that lifted at every gust of wind and made her look as if she might take flight. Nymeria Sand was 25 and slender as a willow. Her straight black hair, worn in a long braid bound up with red gold wire, made a widow's peak above her dark eyes, just as her father's had. With her high cheekbones, full lips, and milk-pale skin, she had all the beauty that her elder sister lacked, but Obara's mother had been an Old Town whore, whilst Nim was born from the noblest blood of Old Volantis.
I really like how, I don't know, I love the appearances, like the difference in appearance of all these like different girls. Like she looks so graceful. Obara is very broody. She's like big. She's sort of like big boned and the oldest and like
speared.
Well, that can happen because they're all different moms, right? Like that's kind of
very different moms. Septa, Old Town whore, and Jeff, give us the history on Old Volantis because that's where Nim's mom's from. What's Old Volantis?
That's that one island.
It's not an island.
And there's 2 of them. No, I'm just kidding.
It was like the main during Old Valyria when the Valyrians, like the people that Targaryens were.
It was Atlantis before it was undersea.
No. It wasn't actually part of Old Valyria. It was like their first freehold outside of Old Valyria. But basically, this is like Dany's people, the ones who had like moved away to a nearby city before whatever bad happened in Valyria.
So she's kind of Targaryen-ish or adjacent at least?
It's just like as royal as you can be, pretty much. Like, hey, she's from the city where they have the most royal, ancient, historical people.
The line of humans goes back to that.
And her mom is highborn in that city. Yeah, so like...
I got it. So pretty powerful.
Exactly. Like as far from an Old Town whore as you can get, pretty much.
Yep. So she's like, yo, is it true the mountain confessed about what he did to Elia and the children? And it's like, yeah, I guess word's out. Tywin's gonna send us his head. And like, oh great. I think she's the one that says like they're paying us with our own coin because Oberyn seems to have got some poisons in him. He hasn't been doing too hot.
Yep, they got word from Sir Daemon Sand. I think she might just say Daemon, but like this is the guy who was like armoring Oberyn before the battle and everything. So he's like, yeah, this is basically giving the first-hand account of what happened. So they're up to date.
She's like, yo, let me set flight. And I guess like he kind of painted the picture that she could look like she was flying, right, with the way her clothes go. She's like, let me fly.
I'm a peacock, coach. You gotta let me fly. What is that? Is that the Will Ferrell basketball movie? It sounds like a Will Ferrell.
It's either that or like
the other guys. I think it's the other guys actually.
I think it is the other guys. Yeah, but it's definitely.
It's actually Mark Wahlberg that says it. I think. I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly.
Yeah. I think you're right. To Batman.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So she's like, "Yo,
your sister wants war. What do you want to do?"
Well, she doesn't even want to go with that sister. She's like, exactly. That's just crazy. Give me Tyene, and me and her will go kill the twins, Tywin, and then the young king.
Yeah. So, Kyle, what's your take on this? I kind of get annoyed, even on like a reading when I read a chapter where a character like there's so much like Tywin is so important in this chapter, and like he's dead. Like you guys, you're not up to date. Like you know what I mean? Like if you were up to date, all these talks would be different, or at least slightly different.
For sure, they would be different. I think they would be way different.
Would it be a name off the list?
They might be happy. All the Sand Snakes might be like, you know what? Okay, fine. Then we got something.
Well, the other thing would be too, like, is who's keeping. Okay, Tywin's going to send us his head. You know, okay, Tywin's dead now. Like, who keeps that promise?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that I know, but I forget? So Tyrion killed Tywin. What did he do with Shay? Did he kill her?
Yeah.
Choked her with the chain.
Choked her with the chain.
Hand necklace.
That's right. Yeah. The hands. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I guess only Varys knows kind of that Tyrion did that.
Yeah, we haven't heard word. I assume.
And Jaime, I guess, might know because he let him go. And I guess they're probably all going to figure it out because he escaped from prison just moments before that. Okay, this is me kind of remembering.
And I don't know what happens, but the next chapter is Cersei, so maybe we get
good predictions for Cersei chapter. I'll say that.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. Okay, well that's nice. Yeah, I did that by accident. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess, I was just trying to think of like, are they going to like Tyrion more? Because they kind of talk about him in a bad way here for sure. They talk about the imp and stuff like that. Like, oh, he did some of our work. Maybe he's not this person that we thought he was, yada, yada.
But he also did us a big favor, which we get into with the next conversation.
One, so, yeah, we'll get there in a sec.
So I mentioned this before about what he told him to do at the pool before he sent him off and make friends and just try to find out what happened. Yada.
Yeah, this is the quote that I think I was talking about. He went beyond anything I asked of him. So this is what Doran is telling Oberyn before they left. He went beyond anything I asked of him. Take the measure of this boy king and his council, and make note of their strengths and weaknesses, I told him on the terrace. We were eating oranges. Find us friends if there are any to be found. Learn what you can of Elya's end, but see that you do not provoke Lord Tywin unduly. Those were my words to him. Oberyn laughed and said, when have I provoked any man unduly? You would do better to warn the Lannisters against provoking me. He wanted justice for Ilya, but he would not wait. And then Nym freaks out and is like, he waited too long. We're not going to wait that long.
We're not waiting 17.
He fucking waited 17 years, you asshole. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Don't expect me and my sisters to wait.
Yep. And that's kind of how that conversation leaves, and he rides in silence the rest of the way.
I did kind of like how she was like, Tyion's like sweet and gentle or whatever, and then that's exactly who she was, right? Like, I mean, it's like, oh, yeah, I kind of see where
we get progressively gentler. Like, even Nym starts sweet, and there's a part where Arya's like, her voice was no longer sweet anymore, like in that conversation.
Yeah, but I think each of them too have a little bit of poison and bite to them too, right?
Well, that was kind of what I was gonna say. Is that I don't think I would have maybe thought so much of Tyene in that matter
if you hadn't seen the other two.
This kind of warning, right? No, without even this specific, like, hey, what, like. I would still, like, she's still my friend. I still trust her to do this fucking not awful thing, but like covert thing, like this crazy mission. But like here she is just like sewing shit or whatever, right? Like, so like, I guess that was kind of neat to me to have that kind of like heads up. And and
I don't think it was in the quote that I had you read, but the other cool thing about Nym is Arya says like, she doesn't have a whip or a spear like Obara.
Yeah, but you know she's stacked
with knives.
Also, we do know Nymeria.
We do know. So, we know kind of two. Arya's wolf is named Nymeria after a famous Dornish princess. So, yeah, it kind of makes sense why this name's propping up here.
So maybe Arya is coming down here. Okay. New hot take.
So we ride through the Sun Spear. Pretty different than the Water Gardens, right? It just reminded me of like kind of being more deserty, but on the ocean.
Yeah, that's definitely not as nice, but that doesn't seem as like shitty as like King's Landing. I would put it between King's Landing and Old Town, just not nearly as big as
it's definitely not big.
Yeah, not as big as either. Yeah. I mean, these towers, 150-foot tower with another 30, that's like pretty big for medieval times, and a big glass dome. But
but the city isn't big, is what I meant.
Yep. But they kind of talked about how it expanded, right? How like it was a quick little description of the city, how it started to build up into what became this city.
Well, it seems like there's a big castle with a wall around it, and then a bunch of hovels built up around that wall, and then they built another wall.
Yeah, well, it's like the people that live there were like, well, fuck, we need a wall.
Yeah. And that happened again. So now there's three walls, 3 gates. And they talk about how most of the gates don't even line up. So normally you come in one wall, and if you want to get in another circle, you have to like walk a couple miles to get to the next gate. They enter through the spot where the only spot where all 3 gates line up, and all of the gates are already open. So he's like, yeah, Nymeria must have got here before us and basically said we're coming. Because also, not just are the gates open, but all the people are fired up.
Yep.
And they're ready to fucking throw shit.
Yeah.
Grab your fruits, because shit's getting thrown.
They've been waiting for 3 days with this fruit.
Overly right.
She wasn't there for 3 days. I'm sorry.
All right. So we're rolling through the city. Kids are yelling at us. Parents are yelling at us. Fruit's getting splashed at our feet. And Doran's like, screw this. Like, when he saw the city, he closed his litter up. I ain't looking at nobody.
Yeah, he knew it wasn't going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, he had nothing to win here, right? Like, what was he going to do?
No, it's kind of like, like you watch players come back into the tunnel, like on Sundays now in the NFL, and like they lose the game, and people are just like hammering on
Yelling at him? Really? Damn.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's every week. It's like, yeah.
I could see like hammering a kicker if he missed a
wait,
but not like an actual player.
And you don't mean NFL players?
Oh no, I mean people are waiting for like NFL players to leave, like walking to their cars, and they're like,
fuck the NFL players. I mean, you can yell at them. They get enough money that you're allowed to yell at them.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like that's kind of like you lose the game or like you play poorly.
I understand them having emotion. I'm not saying they're not allowed to have emotions and feel the game, but
he knows what's coming on, right? Like he's like, yo, bring my car around back type of thing. I don't.
Well, this guy gets paid enough to get yelled at too, I guess, right? Like, yeah, he's the fucking prince of Doran.
So,
but we get in the yard, and so I see the crowd is behind us now. We got just daughter, Arianne Martell, and a bunch of the court. We got Ricasso.
They don't matter.
The old blind seneschal, Sir Manfrey Martell, the Castellan, young Maester Miles, about 10 Dornish knights, Marcella, her septa, and Ares Oakart.
Who's in his hot ass whites. Yeah. And I like how he went through. He's like, yeah, I had to like cover up all my metal cool because area was like, because it's too fucking hot. Like I need to wear this stuff, but it's too hot. Before we get too much further, seeing this one reminded me of the prior one. Nelson, what's a Drummond?
Boat.
This one I guessed correctly. Yeah.
Drummond's a big boat.
Did you know that?
Yes. Why? What do they say here? There's a build. I was wondering this too. I didn't look this up. They say there's a building in the shape of a Drummond.
Last, the dun-colored sand ship, looking like some monstrous Drummond that had washed ashore and turned to stone.
Yeah. I didn't know if that was part of the Sun Tower, which I think is the line before, or if it's its own thing. I thought it was its own thing. It's
its own thing, because it's the shadows, long and dark, glimpse the towers of the sun spirit of the east. First, the spear tower. Second, this tower of the sun. Third, the sand ship.
Yeah, this is something that I feel like last time I read a chapter, last time I got interested in Dorne, I went to it in the Westeros craft, and it was was under construction. Sunspear was under construction, so it wasn't done.
So Jeff, it's like one of those old, like kind of Viking-ish. It's not a Viking; it's a Byzantine ship, but it looks like a long ship, kind of with row. Like that's just kind of the mental image. I had to look that one up. I guessed it was about the Seneschal. That one I had no idea.
I know that one too, just because I feel like it's used a lot in Feast and Dance. It's like an advisor, right?
Is that another book that you read?
Dance of Dragons.
This is Feast.
Oh, okay, Dance. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I didn't.
Yeah, Nelson's acting like you've read this 8 times like him.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
To me, it's like similar to Steward. It's like a steward or maester role. It's like a counselor or advisor.
Yeah, he's a castle steward. Exactly. I googled that. That one I googled. Drummond, I guessed. Yeah.
All right. So he greets Arianne, and she's like, "Yo, Taine's waiting to talk to you." He's like, "Of course she is." And she's like, "Yeah, I sent her to the throne room. She's waiting for you there."
Again, doesn't really matter, but I feel like it's a very short meeting with his daughter if he's really been gone for like 2 years.
I was going to say, they seem cordial, though.
We don't know if she hasn't visited the water gardens and whatnot every now and again.
That's actually a really good point.
I'm just full of them. I've been just... Yeah, so he goes in. It's a cool room, right? This is the glass dome. There's 2 big chairs up, and one has a spear, one has what was Nymeria's
son.
Is that true? Or
I don't know.
Or is it just? I
don't know how that.
I thought it was another family sigil.
No, it's a son in the spear.
Okay.
No, it was some other family.
I thought.
Where'd it go? 2 seats, Martell spear, Nymeria's ships when they first came to Dorne. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
I just assumed it was
the Roynish sun. The blazing Roynish sun that had flown from the mast of Nymeria's ships when they first came to Dorne.
Interesting. I read over that.
That's where the sun. They get the sun and the spear
and sun spear. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right, and Taine's there knitting, I guess, crocheting.
Yeah, read this one, Jeff.
She was sitting cross-legged on the pillow beneath the raised dais where the high seat stood, but she rose as they entered, dressed in a clinging gown of pale blue samite with sleeves of mirrorless lace that made her look as innocent as the maid herself. In one hand was a piece of embroidery she had been working on, in the other a pair of golden needles. Her hair was gold as well, and her eyes were deep blue pools, and yet somehow they reminded the captain of her father's eyes, though Oberyn's had been as black as night. All of Prince Oberyn's daughters have his viper eyes, Ota realized suddenly. The color does not matter.
Yep. So I think this is cool because she definitely seems like the most different looking, right? Blonde, blue eyes.
She seems the most Targaryen, but not, I guess.
She looks, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Because she has blonde hair.
And the blue eye, like, well, I guess her eyes are, what are they?
Normally purple, but like a lot of times, like I think the Egg's eyes are described as blue for a while by Dunk until he's seen in a certain light. So I think purple and blue are, you can play with that. I think it's interesting too. I actually didn't catch this either on my first read, but when Jeff read that, she has the pair of golden needles because there's a part later where she raises her hand and like Arya like stomps this thing, and then after that, that's when she's like, "Oh, can I get your blessing?" And then the maester checks the hands. I bet you the assumption was that she was trying
the needles have something.
Little prick with the needle, yeah. Because she also has the embroidery, which comes up later. But yeah.
Yep. So she starts off with like, "Hey, I made this present for you. It's a blanket of my father, just in case you forget about him," like a little backhanded, And he's like, "Trust me, I won't forget your brother. I won't forget my brother, your father. He left his mark."
And she's like, "Good. Some people had wondered if you already had forgotten him." And she's like, "Don't worry." He's like, "Don't worry. Tywin has already promised us the mountain's head." And again, like she says the same thing. Nim said, like, she says, like, if he gives us his head, that's too.
She's like, "Yo, give us his whole body. Like, he's gonna die. It's gonna take a long time for this poison to set in because I know what he used. Bring his ass here. I want to hear him scream."
We have prayed so long for his death. It's only fair that he pray for it as well. Yeah, that's cold.
I don't know if that. I don't think she meant bring him here, Jeff. I think she meant I hope we can fucking hear him from here.
Yeah, let him suffer. Don't kill him.
Yeah. Like I think that was even more hardcore. Of like that fucker's going to be dying.
I thought it was more so like, what does she want? She's just cool with him dying there. I feel like.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be miserable.
Send him here, and we'll watch him die.
Like, I feel like that's like the goal. What she wanted was like, I want to hear him. I want to hear him scream. But maybe
soon we may hear the mountain screaming, even here in Sunspear. So I think that means like even all the way down here, we're gonna hear that.
Like, what more does she want then if she knows the mountain's gonna die?
Well, she's got there's 3 other deaths that need to happen. She says, right?
She said that too. Sister. That was Nim that said that.
The other sister wanted Jaime, Cersei, and Tommen killed.
Okay,
we didn't quite say it, and Doran at that point was like, Tommen's innocent, and she's like, nobody's innocent in this. Like, fuck them, pretty much. But yeah, here what she wants to do is crown Myrcella. She's like, he's like, let's hurry up. What do you this? And we're getting to it next. He's like, what do you want?
I mean, she wants him to die because she wants him to come here. Yeah, she wants them to march on Dorne, essentially.
Mountain, right? Like in general, he's like, what do you want? Obara wants war.
Yeah.
Nim wants murder. What do you want? She's like, I want war, but not like Obara does. Let's do something to piss him off and bring him here because we only win wars in Dorne. So let's piss him off by crowning Myrcella. Oberyn even told me about this. He said it was a great idea. He said Tyrion was a beast was the man for I probably was an idiot for sending her to us, but
yeah,
we should thank him for sending her, something like that. And she says when Daeron the First Targaryen wed Princess Mariah Martell and brought Dorne into the realm, they agreed with Dornish law. Why do I like this line, Kyle?
You've been fighting for this Dornish law thing for like the last
not
book,
Dornish, not even Dornish law, just the other part. Daeron Targaryen and Mariah Martell.
I don't know.
Daeron is the king when during the Hedge Night. We heard a lot about him in the last Duncan Egg book we read a couple of chapters.
Holy shit. That's how fast I forgot their names. My bad, dude.
There's too many of them. Don't worry about it. The problem is there's probably 5 Daeron Targaryens, so you don't even have it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think this is the second. The first one's the one that conquered Dorne, like via war, the young dragon.
This is Egg's dad?
This is Grandpa.
Egg's uncle
okay.
Grandpa. See, it doesn't matter. It probably is his uncle too, which is the crazy part. It was probably his grandpa uncle.
Well, he's the grandpa, and he's the one that Eustace didn't like, and one of the reasons Eustace didn't like him is because he married a Dornish woman, and he has Dornish people all over his court now.
Okay, here it is. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that's funny.
Again, it doesn't matter. I just like when the history connects. So.
Yeah. So she's like, "We're gonna do this, and
I'll think on it. You think too much." Oberyn said so. He didn't think enough. There's a difference between fear and caution. And she's like, I hope I never see you afraid. You might forget to breathe.
Bam! Slam the staff. Hota didn't like that.
Well, so you keep saying that he took her hand, and like that's like,
he didn't take her hand. He touched her head.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so confused why they're even worried that he got poisoned. I don't know. I've been really weirded out. Not weirded out. This my prince. She did not hear. Let me see your hand. Like that whole like sequence didn't make sense to me. But I
maybe she had like a spiky hairnet or something like that. Like this girl might be just laced with poison.
That's what I'm saying. She had needles. Right, you could have easily just because it says she raised her hand, and that's the line that confuses me the most. Like how? Like
maybe
like
she
was
trying
gonna
to smack him,
like I'm gonna fucking punch you,
or even just like a come the fuck on kind of raise the hand,
or did she raise her hand to her hair and put a needle in it, and then be like bless me?
Yeah, she raised her hand,
or was she trying to pull the needle out?
Exactly, and then get called on it, and instead kneel for exactly like something like that. So who knows? But yeah, exactly.
She's just laced. You could never know with this. With Tyene, you're just laced with poison.
Okay. I think
he does hesitate, right? You've been looking at it, Kyle. He hesitates.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The maester immediately is like, "Let me look at your, let me check it off."
Yeah, let me look at your hand. But that's like I said, that was what I was like. What happened? I was very confused by this. Yeah.
So she bounces, and he sits there for a while thinking.
Well, and she also meant about the poison. She also mentions, "I know the poison my father used. Let the mountain suffer." Right. We're going to be hearing him screaming, so it hints that she knows about poison.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
And so he's thinking some more. He's done a lot of thinking. Get some poppy in him. And Hota, question. How loyal are our people?
Loyal enough, trust me, they'll get it done. We got good guys. If they don't, I'll bring you heads. I don't want heads, I want obedience. And he's like, okay, what do we got? What's the job?
Give me some sand snakes.
Yeah, fucking round up the snakes, man.
And this is interesting. How many of the snakes are we rounding up?
Well, there's 8. Is that accurate?
There's 8
total.
In total.
Yeah. So there's 3 little ones, it sounds like, and 1 missing. So
there's 4 little ones, 1 missing, 3 dangerous ones.
So it's just these 3 then.
There's 3 dangerous ones.
Oh no, he says get the little ones too.
Get the little ones, 7, and then there's 7.
There's 3 old ones, 1 missing, and 4 young ones.
So 7 then, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and we don't know where the 8th one is. But,
he says, "What about Sorella Sand?" Well, he says, "What about Sorella?" They're all sand because that's the.
But it doesn't say where she is. It's just if she comes back. He says,
"Unless she returns to Dorne, there's not I can do about Sorella, save pray that she shows more sense than her sisters. Leave her to her game. Gather up the others. I shall not sleep until I know they are safe and under guard." I read that because I think it's an interesting question to pose to Kyle. What's up with? I mean, I think it's like a blind dart at a dartboard, but. What's an interesting 4th sand snake proposition we could have going here?
So, you think that she's okay? I thought she had other motives. I didn't think it was even related to this. I guess leave her to her game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, what's she doing? Like, this is very cryptic. Of like, she's not involved with us right now.
Well, I thought maybe she was doing red because I feel like there's been a bunch of like pointing at that in this chapter as well. Like maybe not a bunch of it, but there's been a few times I feel like they were talking about red priests.
They did mention the red priest one time, but they also mentioned that in the prologue chapter that there was red priest stuff going on at Old Town.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is like maybe it feels like that stuff is a little more prevalent down here because and he's from far away too, so he's like the 7 are odd to me, like so it doesn't seem like there's I don't know as much of a strict. The North seems like there's more strict religion, I guess. Not strict, but there's. Like the 2, and it's like the prominent in the region. Down here, it kind of seems like there could be a mix, I guess. Yeah, and I mean that kind of fits the progressiveness that you were talking about earlier. So that was my guess as to what she was doing was maybe some red priestess stuff.
That's cool too because it covers more wide bounds of whore, septa, like.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. This lady was a high
red priest.
Maybe she was involved in. Yeah, the mom was involved in something priest red. Whatever that red religion
is.
What
if Oberyn had some master plan of like who the moms were for all his?
He was like it's like Pokemon. He was just trying to collect them all.
Yeah.
But like, what if he had a plan? He's like, I'm gonna need a septa's daughter, and I'm gonna need a whore's daughter.
This will come in handy later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess he's dead, so it wouldn't matter. But okay, Kyle, I think that's the end, right? I'm not gonna sleep till we capture them all.
There's one last line I think that's interesting, and he's like, "Yo, let Tywin know he's got a loyal friend."
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's very like important. These people are not areas like the common people are not going to like this. They're going to be howling. He's like, I hope they do. I hope they how loud enough that Tywin can hear and know what good a loyal friend he has.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like there has to be something under that, right?
That is a great end line too. It leaves so much like to be thought about.
Yeah,
like,
but this dude like does not seem. He seems afraid all the time. I guess that's kind of, and you even said it and whatnot with Tyene.
That's why it's such a great line.
But yeah,
because it hints that he might not be, right.
What do you mean?
Well, it depends on who you're saying he's afraid of. Is he afraid of the Sand Snakes? Is he afraid of Tywin? Is he afraid
I guess
of?
That's true. It could be like, I hope he knows I'm his friend, so he leads off me. I feel like it could be also like taken in a way like I have a plan and it involves Tywin. At least at this point, like we need to at least stay calm for a little bit. I think it. Could
so he thinks that I'm a loyal friend and that I can figure something out here. I have a plan.
But I think the other way makes sense too. It's just like, oh, I hope he thinks I'm his friend because I am afraid of him.
And I've gathered all his enemies and we're good.
Exactly.
Like, everything's good. And that's kind of how he's been preaching throughout the thing. So I think kind of what you were saying though, Nelson, is probably the right thing in that like he's got something up his sleeve here and this is part of it.
I think that makes sense because he says like, oh, when you put these people away, every single person in Dorne is going to be pissed off. Right. Tywin would not want that. Right. Like,
and I think that's what's going to happen. Right. Is I think they're going to be like just super pissed off. They might come for him. But I think they're also going to probably do something against Tywin.
Well, it's almost like hey, I can do like if Tywin gets mad, like say like Doran does this, all the Doran people get actually really pissed off and take matters into their own hands, right? Under like some lord, Doran can say like, hey, I did everything I could, right? Like, but
and his hands are clean. That was going to be the end of the thing by saying,
yeah. So I think like you can see something like that maybe being what's going on.
Yeah, I honestly I can't say certainly one way or the other because we've had one chapter of this guy, but I would like it to be that. Yeah, I think that kind of seems to me how it would play. Like he doesn't seem naive enough or dumb enough to think like he's in Tywin's good graces, but who knows?
Tywin's dead, so who cares?
Well, and Tywin's dead. That's the other kind of side of this.
It's like doesn't matter.
Said at the beginning, a lot of the speculation doesn't even matter. So, yeah. Fucking Doran is his legs or his feet or his toes are gonna start popping next chapter. And they play basketball with his knee. I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I said, because like the basis for all of this knowledge essentially is gonna change. Although I don't think that most of these snakes are gonna, even if they weren't getting rounded up, I don't think that the sand snakes would be placated by Tywin being dead.
Gotcha.
I don't think that would be the end of this. Gotcha. I still think stuff would need to happen.
Yeah, they would need more.
Yeah, because Dorne didn't have anything to do with it, right? Like I feel like that's kind of going to be what they say, the sand snakes.
True. Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's sign off, Kyle, and get to the spoiler section.
We'll see Kyle in the next one for Cersei 1. You'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Bye, Kyle.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
See you on the next one. Now on to the spoiler section for the Captain of the Guards. Captain of the Guards.
Captain of the Guards.
Area 1. Jeff, what we got?
Man, I think you've screwed up one. I'll say that first and foremost.
Who did I talk to? What did I do?
I think at the end, right here, I think you, with the whole Tywin thing and just like his plan, I thought you were
gave too much away.
I thought you gave way too much away. I don't know.
If anything, I gave too much away that we still don't know the answer to that.
Nah, that's not true. You were like, oh, or does he think like, oh, I want Tywin to think that I'm his friend? Like you gave that away to him. He wasn't thinking that. You like gave him the biggest light bulb. Like, oh shit, maybe he's actually trying to like. Okay. Lure him in to be my friend.
Yeah, I mean, now that you say that, I think you might be right. I didn't even think of that last line being read in a way where he was seriously scared of Tywin. So, like, maybe I do have so much just other knowledge of Doran that I wasn't even thinking that as a possibility, but, like...
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is that Tywin's dead, right? So...
I think your point was really...
I tried to bring that in just, like, to temper stuff, because, like... I could just see...
I realized I was crossing some lines when you said that, because I was like, oh, why is Jeff saying that?
Like, Kyle wasn't looking at me, and I tried to, like, give you the head nod, like, oh, shh. But I could just see, like, the wheels started churning when you mentioned that to Kyle, and I was like,
Gotcha.
But I don't think I don't think at the end of the day, like obviously he has some kind of plan, right? Isn't his last chapter like, okay, like now it's time for my plan to be set in place?
He basically says like I haven't been doing all this for nothing. Like he basically I think at some point says I do have a plan. But I think most of what we get from here on out is Ariane chapters,
right?
Where she kind of doesn't like Doran. She feels like the Sand Snakes that he's not doing anything, and she ends up siding with Tyene trying to crown Marcella.
Mm-hmm. And they steal her, right? And then she
Ario's
gets fucking slashed, and Ario dies, right?
Ario kills Ares.
He does kill him.
Yeah.
But isn't like Dark Star there?
Dark
like,
Star slashes
you get the whole
Marcella.
Dark Star shit.
Yeah. That's all one chapter.
This whole storyline, I'll say that.
Darkstar comes and goes in one chapter. Also, the other thing is like these Sand Snakes, I feel like we see them like once or twice more, and then that's it.
Yeah,
like
that's why it doesn't matter.
Ariane gets a chapter where she tries to crown Marcella. Then she gets a chapter where she's prisoner, and maybe one more. Ares Oakar gets one chapter. All he does is sleep with Ariane.
Yeah,
and I think Ario. I don't even know if Ario Hota gets another. Like I think he gets probably one more chapter. So like,
yeah, that's why I don't know. Like I like Doran. I think the Sand Snakes are cool. You obviously get Phagon and shit coming from this realm,
and that's
that it matters some more. Yeah. But like the Ariane and Ares storyline, like doesn't matter.
I wonder.
It just gives you like conflict. You get another knight that's in conflict with his oaths and shit like that.
So I always, I try and listen to like be at least a book ahead in audiobook, so I can like when we're in this section, I have something I can remember things to talk about. And I don't remember exactly, and I think even you will probably like the Ares chapter a lot better. There's only one Ares chapter. That's kind of dumb. I had to get art for Ares for one.
And
chapter.
He dies, right?
Like he dies in the Ariane chapter. Yeah. So, but his chapter.
I thought it was in his POV that like he took the axe to the face and like that was.
Ariane's like, "Don't do that, you idiot!" And he just like rides up there, and she says like he wore his ceremonial cloak and stuff. So some of the implication is he knew he was gonna die and stuff. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of I think parallels between Ares and Kristen Cole. So I wonder, and he even thinks that to himself. I think at some points. So Kristen Cole's the Kingmaker and Ariane gets the Queenmaker. So I wonder if like maybe that's more interesting on a second read because of that. I thought the thing that you were going to say that I was giving too much to Kyle about was the fourth Sand Snake.
I don't even remember what happened, what she is or what she does.
We just talked about this. she's Alaris in Old Town. She's the one shooting apples, being a maester. Sorella.
Yeah, you mentioned that, but I forgot already.
It's crazy.
Did you tell me she was a Sand Snake?
Yes, I told you. At least I said Oberyn's daughter. I might not have said Sand Snake. Yeah, she's Oberyn's daughter. The mom, we heard that the father was a Dornish lord and the mother was a Summer Islander.
You know how much I have going on in my brain right now? I'm thinking about
football
like
season.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like
concept. I mean,
plays.
All you do, I wrote down every play you ran, counting powers.
No, you didn't.
I did. And they were all zone. It was very easy.
You probably didn't know any of them.
It was all zones.
What was the first play?
Zone left plus 5 yards. Zone right plus 10 yards. First down. Power plus 3 yards.
You started the game.
Oh, that's second half. That's second half. First drive. Zone right plus 0 yards. Second play, quick pass plus 9 yards. Third play, power right, first down. First power play of the game.
Yeah, you're right. All right, back on track.
Yeah, we're recording.
You can cut out 7 minutes.
What were we even talking about?
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I didn't remember Solaris. I do think that's cool that she's out there, but she's probably doing some glass candle type shit, right?
So she's got some other story going on. She doesn't seem to give a fuck about her dad dying, even when Sam shows up. Obviously, she couldn't show that, or that would give away the secret. But the other thing I think is interesting about Alaris is being Sorella, who Sorella is the real name. She's in Old Town. Obara doesn't like Old Town. I think the other clue that you and I might... Again, I honestly don't know why Obara wants to burn Old Town. I think...
She doesn't care for Solera?
I think... Exactly. I think what we were saying is one thing. The other thing might be for some reason, her and Solara-san don't get along. So... And I just speculate on that. No idea. Ario spoils something in this chapter himself. He says he's going to kill Ares.
Yeah... I mean, he does foreshadow it.
He just straight up says, like, we're going to fight one day. I can feel it, and I'm going to win. And that's what happens. He does have a bunch of crossbowmen, which help, but yeah.
Yeah. A lot of hot words in this chapter.
Dawn came too soon.
There was my sweet sister. I need my sweet sister.
Yep. I think Lady Tyene had like a sweet tongue, like when she was being innocent and her voice was sweet as strawberries or something like that.
We get a lot of lemons, where the lemons grow.
Yeah, where the lemons grow. They're throwing lemons at him. The other hint about Sorella was when he's talking to Nim. He says, Obara would have me go to war. Nim laughed. Yes, she wants to set torch to Old Town. She hates that city as much as our little sister loves it.
Okay.
So I think that's the other. Again, we don't know which little sister. Kyle doesn't even know how many sand snakes there are at this point. So, but yeah, that on a reread, that's definitely a cool little wink and a nod.
Yeah, that is a little one for sure.
Yeah, that's all I had. I think probably unless I'm forgetting an area, I can't actually remember the next Aereo chapter we get.
Do you think they actually use his name, or is it?
I think I have all of them, all the chapters in my notes already. Not all the notes done, but all like the chapters made. I can check real quick. Captain of the Guard, Cersei, Brienne, Sam, Arya, Cersei, Jaime, Brienne, Sam, the Kraken's daughter, Cersei, the Soiled Knight. That's Ares.
That's Ares. So he dies pretty early.
Not there.
Oh, he dies.
He has one chapter. He dies in Ariane's next chapter. Brienne, Sam, Jaime, Cersei, the Iron Captain, Victarion, the Drowned Man, Aeron, Brienne, the Queenmaker, Ariane. That's when what's his face? Ares dies. Arya 2, Elaine, Cersei, Brienne, Sam, Jaime, Cersei, the Reaver, which is Victarion 2. Jaime, Brienne, Cersei, Jaime, Cat of the Canals, Samwell, Cersei, Brienne, Jaime, Cersei.
Shit, you're almost done the book.
Princess in the Tower, Ariane, Elaine, Brienne, Cersei, Jaime, Samwell. So this is the only Aereo chapter?
That's so stupid.
Unless I haven't finished this list. But
no, I'm pretty much done the book. Princess in the Tower, who'd you say is next? Brienne?
Elaine, then Brienne. Cersei, Jaime, Sam. Am I missing some after Sam?
That's not many pages. Wait.
Cersei, Jaime,
Meanwhile,
Sam.
back on the wall.
Then there's a sample chapter from Dance. That's crazy. I didn't even realize Aereo also only gets one chapter.
Yeah, it's the worst.
And then Ares gets one chapter. And the rest of it's from Ariane. Damn, that's crazy. I thought Aereo got two. All right. Well, that was actually all I had.
All right. Well, let's get the hell out of here then.
We'll see you guys on the next one for Cersei 1.
Bye.
See you on the
I'm
next
actually
one.
excited for the reread of Cersei chapters.
The Cersei ones are great because she is so delusional. It's
yeah,
crazy.
I can't. I'm just the smartest girl in the book.
Yeah. All right. See you guys.
Bye.